I was gonna try to be all festive this week and use like cute Halloween mugs and stuff. And then this morning I realized I don't even own a Halloween mug. That is a crime, especially for how much I love Halloween. So that is something that's gonna be fixed as soon as possible. I'll tell you what though, I made good coffee today. It is actually day 4 of the readathon, and I promise I'm not gonna make a habit of starting readathon vlogs days late. I did get a little bit of video though, so I'll kind of walk you through what I've been up to over the weekend. But first I wanted to show you my TBR for the week. My first book is Home Before Dark by Riley Sager. He is a very popular author for this readathon. I feel like everybody is reading his books this week. I chose this book to fit the prompt of having Halloween colors on the cover, and I'm also kind of cheating and having this fit for the challenge to have haunt in the title. Even though it clearly doesn't, this book is about a haunted house, so like it kind of fits. I know that it's a stretch, but we're just gonna go with it. Last night I made it to page 144 and I'm loving this so far. I'm gonna talk about it more in a second though. My second book is Shiver by Junji Ito. This is gonna be my very first manga experience. I'm very excited, and I've already flipped through the first few pages of this and it is really freaky looking. I mean, if you couldn't already tell by the cover, like this looks terrifying. Also, if you have that phobia of like small holes, like do not read this. I picked this because I've been so excited to read it and it fits perfect for this readathon, but it's also probably going to be a pretty quick read. And I chose this to fit the prompt to read a book in the dark, and I am so scared. But also very excited. And then I'm also reading the audiobook for My Heart is a Chainsaw by, I think it's Stephen Graham Jones. And I'm actually about to finish it. I only have maybe 1.5 chapters left. So that was my original TBR, but just in case I end up wanting a couple more books to read if I finish some of those faster than I thought, I also have The It Girl by Ruth Ware, which I'm very excited about. This was my most anticipated book of the year. And then also Dark Matter by Blake Crouch. I have had this on my TBR basically since I started my booktube channel. And this has been a book that like I feel like I'm just gonna be obsessed with. I don't know why I haven't picked it up yet, but I thought this could be a fun one for this readathon. And I also have an audiobook for this one, which could be nice. Like I said though, these are kind of just backups. I don't know for sure if I'm gonna get to them. So now that you know the reading plans, I'm gonna kind of tell you what I've been up to the last few days. On day 1, we went to a plant nursery. Pretty much all the plants by our front door have died, and so we went and got a new cactus. And there's also this really cute cat that lives in the nursery that we see all the time when we go. I forgot his name, but he's just so cute. Very dusty and dirty, but very cute. After that, we came home and I took the very first photo prompt for the week. The prompt was just to show your TBR, so this is how my picture turned out. And then later that night, we did a trip to Target and we just kind of like looked around, looked at books. That's when I got It Girl. And my husband also got me this really cute mug. We did go to Target to like look around and stuff, but the main reason we went was so that I could pick up some canned pumpkin. One of the challenges this week is to bake something, so I of course had to do something with pumpkin in it. I'm thinking I might actually do that tonight. I did listen to a good portion of the audiobook this day, and then I also started Home Before Dark. And then on day 2, I woke up and took my picture for Instagram. The prompt for this day was to post a picture of your current read. I did some work and listened to more of the audiobook, and then I also made this really fun like repeating pattern for Summerween that I was going to turn into a bookmark. But when I went to go and print it, I realized I was out of ink. And I ordered more, but it's not going to be here till Sunday. So that plan kind of turned out to be a flop, but I will show the pattern here because it deserves to be seen somewhere. Later that night, I got into decorating mode for some reason, and I worked on a peace sign macrame wall hanging. Since we've lived in this house, I've been trying to figure out what I wanted to do above our bed other than having a headboard. But I found this picture on Pinterest that I really liked, where it has the wall hanging and then a shelf above it. And then I remembered that my cousin Allie gave me a wooden floating shelf a few months ago, and I've just been holding on to it, waiting for like the perfect place to put it. We put the shelf up above our bed, and then I put the wall hanging up. I kind of styled it a little bit, and this is how it turned out. And let me just tell you, the whole entire feeling of our room has changed. It feels so much cozier. After all the decorating stuff, we got in bed and I started reading more of Home Before Dark. And I don't know what it is about this book, but like it's getting under my skin, and I really wasn't expecting that. It's really hard for a book to freak me out. And even after I watch like a scary movie or something, I'm able to go to sleep after. But I literally had to sleep with some lights on after reading that book that night. I think it's just because it's about like a haunted house, and I was hearing about like her first night staying at the house and like the noises that it was making and stuff. And I'm already paranoid about my house being haunted. Not that I actually think it's haunted, but in the back of my mind, I'm always just worried about like, but what if it is haunted? So I was just feeling really creeped out that night, but I'm glad. I feel like it's been making the reading experience more fun. For day 3, once again, I took the Instagram picture. The prompt was to take a picture in your favorite place that you like to read. I I just take a picture of the books on my bed because I love reading in bed. We also took a trip to Lowe's yesterday because I found this pin on Pinterest of an A-frame tent that you can make, and it was also really cheap, so we went to Lowe's to get all of like the wood and stuff that we needed for it. This is how it turned out though, and I think that it's so cute and so cozy. We love to make blanket forts and stuff to like watch movies in, and then I keep them up for a few days and read in them, but we always make them like so big and so elaborate that it's like a pain to like put up and take down. So I've wanted something that's like smaller and easy that I can kind of tuck away and just take out when I want to use it. And this tent I can also take outside and use, which I'm planning on maybe doing tomorrow. Okay, and before I forget, before I talk about today, I had to mention that my friend Rachel and I, we have movie nights every single week, and we both love horror movies. And the day before the readathon started, we watched Fresh, and it was so weird and so creepy and so gross, but we both really liked it. It has definitely stuck with me, like I keep thinking about it. But if you want like a weird kind of funny horror movie to watch and you haven't seen Fresh yet, I highly recommend it. As far as today goes, I have really been struggling to take the Instagram picture for some reason. I seriously have like 3 or 4 different photo options that I need to like pick between and edit and all that kind of stuff. Other than that, I haven't been up to much. I just really got back from taking lunch to my husband at his job. So that was kind of fun getting to see him for a minute. I have a tiny bit of client work that I need to get done, but I can finish my audiobook while I do that. And then like I said, I think I'm gonna bake cookies today. And then I would like to see how much more of this I can get done. I do need to tell you more about these books that I've been reading though. So like I said, I am loving this book. The vibes are just perfect. This is reminding me so much of The Haunting of Hill House. I haven't read the book, but I just barely watched the Netflix series with Rachel for one of our movie nights. She came over at like 5 or 6 in the evening, and we stayed up till 4 in the morning watching the entire show start to finish. That night was so much fun though, and I really loved the TV show. This book is about Maggie, who when she was a little girl, her parents moved her to this like big Victorian mansion called Bainbury Hall. They ended up only living there for like 20 days or something because of all the hauntings that were happening, and it eventually got so bad that they just left in the middle of the night and didn't return. After those events, her dad wrote a book about their experience, and that has just kind of loomed over her life this whole entire time. So we're following her present day 25 years later. Her dad has recently passed away and left everything to her, including Bainbury Hall, which until her dad's passing she thought wasn't in their family anymore. She thought that he sold it. So she decides that she's going to go back to the house and she's going to renovate it and then try to sell it. But her dad's last words to her were to never go back to the house because it's not safe for her. She doesn't remember anything about living in Bainbury Hall, and she thinks that everything that her dad wrote about is fake. She doesn't believe in ghosts, she doesn't believe in haunted houses. But as she's staying in Bainbury Hall, things are kind of like unfolding. I think my favorite thing about this book though so far is how it's being told. We get alternating chapters between Maggie's perspective and chapters from her dad's book. I feel like the pacing is really good, and I love how the chapters kind of mirror each other a little bit. Like something will be mentioned in the dad's chapter, and then we'll see her in the house kind of in the same area, kind of looking at the same things that he was. The descriptions of like the sounds and stuff of the house are just like so creepy and so eerie, and I'm just like having so much fun reading this, and I feel like I'm also reading it a lot faster than I usually read physical books. I think it's gonna be a 5-star read, honestly. And then the other book that I've been reading is My Heart is a Chainsaw. Like I said, I'm about to finish it. I'm gonna be real with you though, I've almost DNF'd this book like 3 different times. I really don't like the narrator. I feel like her head is not a fun place to be in. I also am not a huge fan of the writing style, which is kind of weird because this is the type of writing that I usually really like. It's the very like quick kind of stream of consciousness type of writing. Kind of like Bunny a little bit, and the writing was one of my favorite things in Bunny, so I don't really know why it's not working for me in this one. The way that this one is told is kind of fun and interesting though. It's told in epistolary form through like letters that she's writing to this girl that she goes to school with, as well as her old history teacher. This book is about Jade. She's in high school and she has kind of a rough home life. She also struggles a lot with her mental health, but she is obsessed with horror movies, and I think specifically slashers. She knows the genre so well that she starts to recognize the patterns of a slasher happening in her small town. Just all of the cliche slasher movie things, she knows that they're gonna happen in her town, and she knows who they're gonna happen to. So it's funny to see her thought process as she's like dissecting her town and trying to figure out what's going to happen. And she also is like excited to see this murder happen. This is like a once in a lifetime thing for her. But I honestly am just not a fan of the pacing. Like I said, not a fan of the writing. Not really a fan of the characters. I don't feel attached to anybody. Like I don't really care that anybody is dying. The one thing that I think this book is doing well is the descriptions of gore and stuff. Like it's gross, which honestly is what I wanted from a horror book. So it's at least doing that. It's not the worst book I've read or anything like that, but I think it's gonna be more of like a 3 unless it does something crazy in the next couple of chapters. I don't think it will though. I think that's pretty much everything that I wanted to talk about though, so I will update you when I've read some more. I just finished My Heart is a Chainsaw, and I think that my final rating is going to be 3 out of 5 stars. I think when I was talking about it in the last clip, I was being a little bit generous. I think back then I would have given it maybe closer to like a 2 or a 2.5. But the ending of this book really did take me by surprise, and it was good enough to kind of bump it up a little bit, so I think that it will be a 3-star rating for me. The ending was definitely action-packed and gross and gory. Overall though, like I said, this isn't my favorite book that I've ever read, but it's also not a bad book by any means. I do feel like I didn't care about a lot of the characters that things were happening to because I couldn't even really remember who they were. So I felt like some of the things that happened didn't have as much of an impact because of that. And I also just kind of feel like this book didn't need to be as long as it was. I feel like it could have been shorter and still gotten everything across that it wanted to. Also, if you're looking at picking this book up, I would look into trigger warnings because there's a lot of stuff in here that I wasn't really expecting. It was cool to experience a slasher through a book rather than like a TV show or a movie. So I think that I'll be picking up other slashers in the future, but sadly this one was just kind of okay. I think this is going to be the last talking clip for the day, but you'll probably see me bake cookies and read Home Before Dark tonight. Last night after baking, I made it a little ways into Shiver. I ended up reading 2 stories last night. The first one is called Used Record, and the second story is what the book itself is named after. It was called Shiver. That one was the one with holes in it, and it also involves bugs. Absolutely not. No. Ugh, it's like making me feel itchy just thinking about it. The next story is called Fashion Model. I'm gonna start reading this again in just a little bit here, and I think that I'm gonna try to sit down to like finish it because the first 2 stories went by really quick. I was worried about how long it would take for my eyes and my brain to adjust to like reading backwards basically, since that's how you read manga, but my brain actually made the switch pretty quickly, so that was good. And then last night I also started the audiobook for The It Girl by Ruth Ware. I made it to chapter 8 of 39. All of Ruth Ware's audiobooks are narrated by Imogen Church, and I really love how she reads the books. I love her voice. I love how she delivers lines and stuff. I just feel like she does a really good job, and I enjoy listening to her. I've read every single Ruth Ware book on audio, and I just really love the reading experience. There are 2 timelines in this book. There's present day and then back in 2012 when the main character was in college. The main character that we're following is Hannah, and current day she's married and pregnant, and her mom has just really given her a call to let her know that somebody from Hannah's past has died in prison. And all we know about this person is that they murdered her best friend back when they were in college. And then back in the college perspective, we're seeing Hannah meet her roommate April and kind of fall in with her group of friends. I didn't get super far in, so like nothing super crazy has happened, but I am liking where it's going. One of my only complaints though is I feel like there is so much repetition going on, even this early on in the book. There have been a few things that we just keep getting told as if it's our first time hearing them when it's not. I've been told like 3 different times that Hannah has morning sickness, but it's being told to me as if it hasn't already been said in the book. It almost just kind of feels like those things didn't get caught in editing or something. But there's been at least like 3 or 4 other instances of that happening with other topics. These instances are happening like so close together too that it feels like it should be an accident, but I know that it's not. So then I kind of feel like, well, is it bad writing? Other than that though, I am enjoying it and I'm excited to keep reading. The only things that I've done besides reading today are film a reel for Instagram because the photo challenge for today was to make a reel of your reading routine. This is obviously not what my reading routine looks like every single day, but when I want to be a little bougie, a little bit extra, this is kind of what I do. I also had to show off my little tent project because I've been obsessed with it. Other than that though, it's been a really chill day. The only other thing that I have going on is a grocery pickup later tonight, but I'm gonna go and sit down and just try to like read as much as I can and hopefully finish Shiver. It's the next day, so it's day 6, and this readathon, like the end of it, really snuck up on me. I'm just so used to readathons going into the weekend that I felt like I still had like Friday, Saturday, Sunday for my reading, but tomorrow's the last day. So I really need to kick it into gear with my reading and finish some of my books. I did finish Shiver last night though, and this was so weird, so creepy. There were quite a few pages where like I would turn the page and have to just like close the book because I was like, what did I just look at? I don't know if I want to see that again. Even my husband, who likes gore and scary stuff and horror, was like, wow, that is a lot. I gave this one a 4 out of 5. I really enjoyed it, and it definitely got a reaction out of me. The reason I'm not giving this a full 5 is because I liked some stories more than others, and because of that, the pacing felt a little bit off. My favorite story from this collection was The Long Dream. It was such an interesting and thought-provoking concept. It's basically about this patient who he starts to have really long dreams, and they just start to get longer and longer every night, to the point where he's having dreams that are like hundreds of years long, and they're only happening within like 1 second in real time. He'll like wake up from a dream and not be able to remember the previous day because it felt to him like there were 50 years in between that. So his memories are becoming really foggy, and some of the illustrations from that story, like, ooh, were so creepy and really got under my skin. I feel like the images were like purposefully placed in this so that you would turn the page and have like a really big scary image there, so it's like a jump scare basically. And on the one page that I'm like mainly thinking of with like the jump scare and stuff, I had to actually cover the image with my hand while I was reading the rest of the panels because I just like could not handle it. I also really liked the stories Shiver, Hanging Blimp, and Honored Ancestors. This was something that I got through really quickly, and it was so weird and like a fun time, even though it scared me. And I'm really glad that I picked this as like my first experience with manga, and I am so excited to read more from Junji Ito. I've also been listening to more of It Girl. I am this far in. My thoughts on this are kind of the same as the last clip, where I'm liking this but nothing crazy has happened. We're just slowly kind of learning more about Hannah and April's relationship and what their life at school was like. So far too, we've been told like quite a few times that April was Hannah's best friend, but just kind of like seeing some of their interactions and hearing some of the things that April does, like she's pretty unlikable, and I don't really know why Hannah considers her her best friend, because in those instances that we're like hearing about their relationship and some of their interactions, it doesn't really sound like Hannah is very happy with April either. So what we're being told isn't really matching what we're being shown. I don't know, but I think it's going to be fun to see a little bit more of their friendship dynamic unfold. I have kind of a fun plan for this afternoon. I want to make some lunch and take it outside for a picnic, but also do it with my tent that I made and do some reading out there. I don't know how it's actually gonna go down though, because it's 108 degrees outside right now, and it might be too hot for me to stay out there for too long, but I really want to use my tent outside. That's one of the main things that I made it for, so that I could have like some cover from the sun and still get to read outside a little bit. I will try to update a little bit more as I read today, but cross your fingers for me that I can finish home before dark. I'm just looking less and less put together as this video goes on. Yesterday, after I redid that section of bookshelf for my Instagram picture, I decided that I wanted to redo the whole entire thing in rainbow. So I spent all of yesterday evening and most of this morning and this afternoon rearranging everything. I feel like it just took so much longer than I thought it was going to, but during that whole entire time, I've been listening to more of the It Girl. So right now I'm currently on chapter 34 of 39, which sounds like I'm close to being done, but I'm not, which is so misleading. I thought I was getting close to the end, and plot-wise and like where the book is going, it feels like I should be nearing the end, but I still have like half of the book left. I'm guessing that the last few chapters are just a lot longer than the rest of them. I feel like I'm really struggling with this one, and I'm feeling kind of sad about it because I've loved every other Ruth Ware that I've read, even her earlier books. I feel like with her books, I just like each book better than the last almost. I do like The Turn of the Key better than One by One, but I still really love One by One. But I'm almost kind of feeling like I like some of her like first books better than this one at this point. And at this point, I really just need the plot to start moving because I feel like I'm getting bored, and I feel like we just keep hearing almost the same things over and over again. Right now I'm pretty much feeling like it's gonna be like a 2.5 or a 3 star, which I am so sad about because Ruth Ware is one of my favorite authors. This was my most anticipated book of the year. I think I'm just gonna take a break from it for right now and pick up Home Before Dark because I didn't end up reading very much of it yesterday. Also, before I end this clip, I just wanted to say I realized the other night that the cover for Home Before Dark is glow in the dark, which is so cool. I've never seen that with a book before. Anyway, I'm gonna sit down and start reading that. It's 1:42 in the morning and I stayed up to finish this. This is easily my favorite book of the year so far. 5 out of 5 stars. I loved every minute of this. Not only did I just love like the characters and the atmosphere of this house, but it got like a genuine scared reaction out of me, which I feel like is really impressive for a book to do. I'm really tired though and I need to go to bed, but I think I'll probably do like a final clip or something tomorrow. But I just wanted to get out my fresh thoughts right after finishing this book. It's a few days later and the readathon is officially over, but I wanted to just do a quick little wrap up. The first book that I finished was My Heart is a Chainsaw, and I actually decided to change my rating for this book. I'm giving it a 2 out of 5 stars. Even just a week later, I don't really remember anything about this book, and some of the main things that I do remember are my feelings of just wanting it to be over for a lot of it. And then the next book that I finished was Shiver. I really like this. I still am gonna stick with my 4-star rating. Since this is such like a quick read, I feel like this will be something that I read around Halloween every year maybe. I really enjoyed it. I feel weird saying that when the cover looks like this, but I really liked it. Then I finished Home Before Dark, and I think that was the last clip that you guys saw was me finishing this. So you already know how I feel, but like I love this book. Definitely new all-time favorite, my favorite book that I've read so far this year. There were a couple of things that I was able to call in this book, but those things were done so well that I don't even care. And also there were quite a few twists that I didn't even see coming, so I loved that this book was able to surprise me. I loved the format of this where it's told from the dad's perspective and Maggie's perspective, and I really loved throughout the whole entire book you couldn't tell whether things were paranormal or based in reality. This whole entire book just really kept me guessing. I honestly just don't have any bad things to say about it. I really loved this. I'm gonna be thinking about it for a really long time. I want to pick up more by Riley Sager, but I have no idea what to pick up next. I've already read Lock Every Door and really liked it. I think I gave that one 4 out of 5 stars, but I'm kind of scared to pick up other books because I feel like every other book by him besides the 2 that I've already read have really mixed reviews from people. I'm thinking I might read The House Across the Lake next from him, but I honestly just don't know. So if you have any advice for me for which one I should pick up next, tell me in the comments. I technically finished reading this after the readathon was over, but I did finish The It Girl. I'm giving this one 3 out of 5 stars. It was okay. The only good things that I have to say about this book were that I felt like I knew the characters really well by the end, but that's just because the book was so long, or it felt so long. This book straight up felt like it was 800 pages when it's only like a little over 400. But I felt like I got to know each of the characters, what their motives could be, like their personalities and stuff. And I did grow to care about them a little bit throughout the book just because I had been spending so much time with them. And then the other thing that I liked about this book was the ending. I really didn't see it coming. I thought halfway through this book I had everything called and that nothing was going to surprise me, but the ending did, so that was nice. I guess actually another positive would be the audiobook experience. I've already talked about how it's narrated by Imogen Church and I really love her, and I feel like if I had been physically reading this, I definitely would have DNF'd it. The only reason that I kept reading this was because it was something easy to have going on in the background, and I really liked the narration style of the story. This book was just such a drag, and I'm honestly so sad about it because, like I said, this was my most anticipated book of the year, and I've loved everything else that Ruth Ware has written. At least 100 or 200 pages could have been taken out and had the book still have the same impact, have all of the twists worked how they were supposed to, and I would have given this book maybe like a 4-star if it was just condensed and shortened a little bit. This book also just felt so repetitive, both in like things literally being repeated, like the same phrases like I said in one of my earlier clips, but I also just felt like the same plot things kept happening. especially in the middle of the book, and it made the pacing terrible. Hannah would find something out about April's death that was like shocking to her, but like it really wasn't that big of a deal or that big of a reveal or anything. And then she would just be anxious, and then she'd go to her pregnancy appointment and they'd be like, you have high blood pressure, and then it would just keep going. Like I think that happened at least 3 or 4 times. So yeah, I'm really sad about this and I don't know if I'd recommend it. In an attempt to not end this clip on such a depressing note, these were awesome. Like you should definitely pick these up. I do recommend these. This readathon was so much fun though. I loved interacting with everybody and I will for sure be participating again next year. But thank you so much for watching and I will see you in the next one.